With the 15th pick and with the 26th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Washington Redskins select Dwayne Haskins, Montez Sweat.
Welcome, all my fellow Redskin brethren and sister. I am your man and resident Redskins fan, Lou. Thank you for joining me here on the Redskins Report. So I'm at work, trying to get some work done and being productive, and news breaks that Mason Foster's been released. Huge shock to me. Literally, we're a day away from training camp. Like, the players leaving from training camp, that is. Training camp actually doesn't get underway until Thursday, July 25th, but he was probably set to leave to get ready to go to training camp. So at this point, you're thinking the roster is pretty much set in terms of the 90 guys that are going to be there. Obviously, things are going to happen while they're there. Injuries are going to take place. They're going to bring some guys in. They're going to, have some guys go, some guys come in, that sort of thing. But a guy like Mason Foster, you're not expecting any kind of rumblings this close to camp. And remember, we talked about Mason Foster as a potential cap casualty earlier in the offseason when we thought a number of guys were potential cap casualties. We thought he was a cap casualty. I talked about him. If you go back and watch some of the videos in the archives, I talked about Josh Norman as a guy potentially that could be cut. We talked about Vernon Davis being a guy that could potentially be cut. So all of those guys we thought were potentially on the chopping block when we got closer to free agency, maybe even after free agency. And once they didn't take place then, and then the draft happened and they didn't take place then, and all of these mini camps and all of these OTAs took place and it didn't happen then, you didn't expect it to happen at all unless it happened at the end of the preseason and at the end of training camp. Once you get into the preseason games and you go into your final cuts and you start trimming down the roster, okay, maybe he was on the bubble then and he wouldn't make the roster. But at this point, we felt like they were going to eat Josh Norman's salary for the season. They're going to eat Vernon Davis's salary for the season. And they're going to eat Mason Foster's salary for the season. And think about it like this. Mason Foster was penciled in as the week one starter at inside linebacker. The guy played pretty much every single snap for the Redskins at inside linebacker last year. Last time I checked, nothing has really changed at inside linebacker. We had Reuben Foster. That's a key term and phrase. He's hurt, gone for the year. And so if there was going to be a change potentially, Sean Deion Hamilton at one linebacker position, Reuben Foster at the other, we were going to go with that whole Alabama connection inside. Then, yeah, we could see Mason Foster. And that was the assumption when I thought maybe the Redskins might try to move on from Mason Foster, save $4 million in the process, and maybe reallocate those funds elsewhere. But then you move on and you see that they're not going to do that. And it really worked out. And I know there are a lot of Redskins fans out there, a number of you that I've talked to in the past that couldn't wait until Mason Foster was let go. And you thought that he was a liability on this football team. I told you then, I'm telling you now, I did not have a problem with Mason Foster. You can do a lot worse at inside linebacker in this league than Mason Foster. We've seen it. We've had some pretty poor inside linebacker play here over the years. Guys that have been try-hard guys that have been solid, not great. He was an upgrade over Will Compton, and I wasn't a Will Compton detractor. I didn't have a problem with Will Compton on his roster. I had a problem with Will Compton starting. All right. I like my Will Compton off the bench. All right. Coming in off the pine, not starting. All right. So Mason Foster was a huge upgrade. He made plays for us on this defense. Yeah, he's a guy that, and I was talking to my man, Likely Phenomenon today. He's a Lions fan, and he was like, hey, we might get Mason Foster. We can use some linebacker help. I'm like, cool. He said, what would you be mad if Mason Foster ended up coming to Detroit and becoming a Pro Bowler? I said, no, I wouldn't be mad at all. I said, first and foremost, let me tell you right now, I can assure you, Mason Foster will go nowhere and become a Pro Bowler. I can assure you of that. However, he is a smart football player. He's a very, what's the word I'm looking for here? He's a guy that I feel like is someone you can rely on. All right. He is accountable in terms of his play on the field, and he's a short tackler. Now, he's limited athletically, and he's a guy that's probably at this point of his career a 2-down linebacker, which is fine. You know, if that's what you're looking for, he'll fit in like a glove. But as far as Mason Foster's absence being felt on this roster, that remains to be seen. We really don't know what we have at inside linebacker. Sean Deion Hamilton finished the season off strong last year, but we still don't know what he looks like starting for 16 games. And he's got an injury history himself. You look at Cole Holcomb. He's a rookie. I don't think he's ready to contribute as a starter right away. They like John Bostic. Look, I've watched John Bostic from afar. I saw him in Pittsburgh with the Steelers. Not impressed, okay? I've seen John Bostic from afar in numerous stops around the league. Seen him in Indy, seen him in Pittsburgh. Not impressed. So the fact that they were that blown away without pads and no contact with John Bostic, I refuse to believe that. The first thing that I thought of, and we're going to get to some comments. I want to kind of gauge how you guys feel about this move and where this leaves us. The first thing I thought of when this took place was they're freeing up some cap space to not redo Trent Williams, but to reach a deal with Brandon Sheriff. They're freeing up some cap space so that they can get the money to do something with Brandon Sheriff. That was my first train of thought. I don't think they're doing anything with Trent Williams. I've already told you that. So I thought the first thing that popped in my head, they're going to get something done with Brandon Sheriff. That was the first thing that popped in my head. Then the second thing that popped into my head was, what the hell does this mean for the linebacker position? Like, who do they envision starting? The only person I could think of is John Bostic, but I'm like, really? I would have just kept Mason Foster over John Bostic. So, again, we'll see what happens. And then the last thing that crept into my head, and this was a little bit later on as I continued to ponder, because this just didn't make sense because the timing is what didn't make sense. Not the actual move itself. The Redskins just saved $4 million. It's the timing that just threw me for a loop, because if you were going to get rid of this man, why didn't you do this 2 months ago? Why didn't you do this a month ago? Why are you waiting until the day before you break for camp to get rid of a guy that has a C on his chest and has been taking all your first team reps in all of the camps and played 99% of your snaps last year? It just didn't make sense to me. So then the last thing that crept into my mind after thinking about all those things and putting them into one big pot is that, you know what? There was that one time that the Redskins put Mason Foster on IR and he went ballistic. He went apeshit on the organization. And there was that one time that he went crazy on the entire fan base and he went crazy on the team and the Redskins organization. There was that one time. And so I thought to myself, are the Redskins that petty to wait till the day before training camp to cut this man and make him look for work and bypass his $4 million salary? I said, nah. Then I thought to myself, we are the goddamn Redskins and we do some pretty petty shit. So that's also something to consider. They might have been being petty as a mother. And we know, don't put nothing past Bruce Allen's shiesty stinking ass. So I'm not saying, I'm just saying, in any event, I don't know what to make of this. I do know the Redskins just saved themselves $4 million. I do know that it's not like Mason Foster, much like DJ Swearinger. It's not like we just cut a 4-time Pro Bowl linebacker. You know, that's an impact player that we can't do without. But it's a position that I didn't think we had the ability to just be cutting dudes. This isn't like running back where we've got a bunch of dudes, and if you get rid of one of them, like a Samaje Perine, you're like, oh, okay, damn. All right, Samaje, deuces, man. It was cool. You know what I mean? You did some really good things. But it was nice. It was fun, but you got to go. It's not like, you know, one of these other positions where we got a bunch of dudes like corner, for instance. You know, if we moved on from, say, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie today, I would have been like, damn, kind of late in the process, but all right, deuces. You know, we got a bunch of corners. We'll be fine. Linebacker, not one of those positions. I don't look at linebacker and say, yeah, we pretty stocked there. We got a lot of stuff. We're going to be good. I just told you who we have in inside linebacker. We got Josh Harvey Clemens, Sean Deion Hamilton, a bunch of guys with 3 different names. We got Cole Holcomb and John Bostic. I don't know about you. I'm not really comfortable with the list of names that I just gave you. I don't know about you. So I don't know what these guys are doing. Half the time I don't anyway. And I guess we're just going to have to wait and see what the hell is going on. But I can tell you this much. I wouldn't have done it. But again, it's the Redskins we're talking about here. So in any event, I want to get to your comments because I want to know how you guys feel about this move. I know, again, let me say this. Let me preference what I'm about to say with this. I know a lot of you guys are elated, ecstatic about this move. You couldn't wait to see Mason Foster gone. I wasn't one of those guys. I didn't have a Mason Foster problem. I've told you guys this numerous times. I don't have a Mason Foster issue. He was solid in my book. He didn't help us. He didn't hurt us. That's how I'll phrase that. He didn't hurt us. You know what I mean? He wasn't great, but he didn't hurt us. He didn't kill us. So make sure you like the video, okay? It's too many of y'all watching the damn video right now to only have 4 likes. Like the damn video and subscribe to the Louie T Network if you haven't already done so. That being said, let's get to some comments and see what you guys have to say. If I can get to the comments. All right, just have to do this old-fashioned way. See if I can pull them up here. I can't see all the way over there. So let's see if I can pull them up here on my phone. Because I know you guys are really opinionated on this particular topic of discussion. So there we go. Here we go. All right. Let's see. Make sure if you want your comment read, use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read on the air. For those of you new to the channel, for those of you who don't know how this works, use the hashtag LouieTLive if you want to have your comment read. Again, it has to be pertinent. But if you want to have your comment read, if you have something to say, use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read. If you're just addressing someone else in the chat discussion, go on right ahead about your business. Don't worry about using the hashtag and go ahead and chop it up amongst yourselves. But anyway, let's see. The 20th Mike says, that's good news, question mark. Again, I'm not, this wasn't good news to me. I wasn't one that thought that this needed to be done. As a matter of fact, I want to read you, there are a lot of people not happy with this decision before we get to the comments. So Mason Foster's agent, Blake Baratz, had this to say on Twitter. He says, if you ever want to doubt that there is zero good faith in the NFL business, look no further than the Redskins cutting Mason Foster today. The day he was heading to report for camp, a 9-year veteran, captain of the defense, played 99% of the snaps last season and cannot even get a straight answer as to why. Keep in mind the team has been off for 5 weeks, which is what I was referencing. Like, hey, if you're going to do this, why didn't you do this 2 months ago? Why didn't you do this a month ago? He also says, and he was the starting middle linebacker for the entire offseason. I operate in good faith as a human being and as a business. I expect more from the NFL and certain organizations in particular. We can be better. So he said that. And then you had Big Swaggy, Chris Baker, say this on Twitter as well. He says, I don't know why we have contracts in the NFL. Imagine planning your life thinking you're going to make $4 million. You do everything right, show up for work in shape, ready to go, and they tell you you're fired and you're not getting a penny. Cutthroat in all caps. So it's a part of the business. The NFL to me is by far and away the most shady of the 3 major sports. If you want to throw hockey in there and you want to say the 4 major sports in the U.S., knock yourself out. It's still the shadiest and most cutthroat of them all. In every other sport, your contract is fully guaranteed once you sign on the dotted line. You sign a baseball contract, you're going to get every single penny of that contract. You sign a NBA contract, you're going to get every single penny of that contract. Okay? You sign a hockey contract, you're going to get every single penny of that NHL contract. Now, the difference in those sports, and I always tell people this, which is why you have to take all of that with a grain of salt, different roster sizes. All right? On an MLB roster, you got 25 guys. On an NBA roster, you got 15 guys. On an NFL roster, you got 53 players. You cannot fully guarantee every single contract. Guys would go broke. Now, again, I've always told you this. I always side with the players when it comes to contracts. So I feel bad for Mason Foster. All right? Not because of the money or anything like that. Just the simple fact of this man thought he was going to be on this team at least to training camp. If you tell Mason Foster after training camp we're going in a different direction, he can understand that. You know, maybe he wouldn't like the decision, but he'd understand. You thought that someone else was better than me, or someone else was a better fit, or I wasn't worth $4 million and John Bostic is getting paid a little less than $2 million, and so you want to go in a different direction. He can process that in his mind. But when you cut me the day before I'm going to show up for training camp, and you give me no plausible explanation, some bullshit is going on. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. But in any event, let's get back to the comment section. And let's see what you have to say. Ben O'Flaherty says, yo, Louie, go back to saying who else could it be? But, I don't do that on Redskins shows. I do that on every other show, not Redskins shows. Let's see. What up, Likely Phenomenon? Remember, if you want your comment read, use the hashtag LouieTLive. Protect Sports says, the Skins are petty as F. He says, I do like the inside linebacker depth, but I'm kind of nervous about it because they are inexperienced, as he says, inexperienced, but hella athletic. The athleticism is overrated at inside linebacker. If you're not instinctual, if you don't know what's going on, you can have all the athleticism in the world. It doesn't matter. Mason Foster was a veteran that knew what was going on, which allowed him to get to the football quicker. He wasn't the fastest guy in the world. Where he hurt us on the field was in passing situations where he was on the field because he just wasn't athletic enough to be in coverage consistently. But in the run game, he was our leading tackler last year. I mean, this is a guy that you could count on to be where he was supposed to be. Generally, you know, the vast majority of the time. I still remember the pick that he had versus the Rams 2 years ago in L.A. to get us that win, to solidify that victory on the road when we still didn't know the Rams were going to be the Rams that we know now as a team that's a Super Bowl contending team. Remember, they won the division that year in Sean McVay's first year, and that was week 2. On the road, Mason Foster, with a separated shoulder, picks off a pass from Jared Goff, and that seals the deal for the Redskins on the road in that game. So it's not like Mason Foster was this bum. A lot of people like to over-exaggerate some of these players and their lack of this or lack of that. He was a really solid football player for us. The bottom line is, the Redskins moved on from him, saving themselves $4 million. My problem with it is the timing. I don't have a problem with the actual move itself, even though I do, unlike my man Protect Sports, I don't love the depth at inside linebacker. If we had Reuben Foster still, then that would be a different story. But you tell me that we're going to probably start Mr. Boombastic, I'm good. I'd actually prefer Mason Foster start. Thank you very much. So we'll see what happens, though. You know, I don't know what the Redskins have planned. Thomas Rice says, what do you think about Cole Holcomb playing? I think he's too small right now. I think he needs to get a little bit bigger. When you watch Cole Holcomb, I watched his pro day. Man, the dude looked real thin. He ran a sub 4.5. You know why? Because the dude looked like he was 220 pounds. You know, right? So I think he ended up, you know, at the combine. I think he checked in at, or he wasn't even at the combine. I don't think he was at the combine. He might have been at the combine. I think he was like 235 pounds or something, 232, something like that. I saw him at his pro day when he ran that sub 4.5. He looked like he was 225. So I don't think Cole Holcomb is ready to take on NFL defenders on a consistent basis. Not right now, at least. So that's what I think about him. Philly Joyle says, I think the Eagles might get Foster. It wouldn't shock me. And he'd want to go somewhere where he'd get a chance to stick it to the Redskins twice a year. That's where the last ex-Redskins inside linebacker went. In case you forgot, Zach Brown is now a Philadelphia Eagle. So it wouldn't shock me if he went there. Jaden Dolfelmeyer says, do you see us picking up a linebacker halfway through the season after realizing that cutting Mason Foster was a bad move? I don't know if we'll realize that halfway through the season. They may realize that in the camp. You know, they're one injury away, knock on wood here. They're one injury away at inside linebacker from realizing that was a very regrettable move. However, it may be a move that unearths a gem. You know, maybe Josh Harvey Clemens plays more. Maybe Cole Holcomb plays more. Or maybe, this is just a thought, I don't think this is happening, but this is just a thought. You got Ryan Kerrigan. You got the Brailford kid that we just drafted. And, of course, Montez Sweat. Maybe. I'm not saying just maybe, because at some point, Sweat's going to start. Opposite of Kerrigan, you've got to think. Maybe they're moving Ryan Anderson inside. I'm not saying. Just saying. I think Anderson would be a much better fit inside if you ask me. He's physical. He's nasty. He's aggressive. He's everything you're looking for from an inside linebacker. He's got enough speed. He's not the fastest guy in the world. He's got enough speed to be a 2-down road grader. I'm just saying I don't think that's happening though. But they have to know something that we don't in order to release Mason Foster literally less than 48 hours before training camp begins. They got to know something that we don't. And that's me giving the Redskins the benefit of the doubt, which I probably shouldn't do because I know the bullshit that this organization does. I probably shouldn't give them the benefit of the doubt, but I am. Andre Williams says, what are your thoughts on Harvey Clemens? I like Josh Harvey Clemens. Again, much like Cole Holcomb, doesn't have the body type to play down in, down out. Okay, snap in, snap out. He's not built to be on the field consistently. He's got a safety build still. Remember, he was a college safety at Louisville. He's a hell of a third down linebacker. I like him on the field in obvious passing situations. So do the Redskins. I like him as a blitzing linebacker. So do the Redskins. What the Redskins don't like him as a gap plugging inside physical presence linebacker. That's not his calling. That's not in his DNA right now. I don't know if it ever will be. So I look at Josh Harvey Clemens as a guy that is a really good piece to have on your football team. In today's NFL, where guys are getting faster and you need more athleticism in your front seven, he fits in perfectly. But right now, to me, he's more of a nickel dime type of linebacker than he is a base linebacker. So I don't think he's a guy that you look to start necessarily. Thomas Rice says, what do you think of Cole Holcomb playing? I pretty much already answered that. Mo Els says, I like the move. I think Sean Deion Hamilton will step up and take the starting position along Bostic. Well, Sean Deion Hamilton was already going to start. So it's not like he was on the back burner and they're almost like an NBA type of move where you trade a guy to open up minutes for a young guy that you like so he can get on the court. Sean Deion Hamilton was going to start, I believe, at one linebacker position because in my mind, they were trying to go all Alabama up the middle with Payne and Allen and Foster and Hamilton, Sean Deion Hamilton, as your four players right up the middle of this defense. Now, with the injury to Foster, Reuben Foster that is, not Mason Foster, and Sean Deion Hamilton was going to be your other starter, I think that now pushed John Bostic into the starting lineup, which, again, I would have preferred Mason Foster. I much deal with the evil I know than the evil I don't know. And like I said, I've watched John Bostic from afar. Not overly impressed. See, Likely Phenomenon said the Redskins not holding back. Let's see. Andre Williams says, what are your thoughts? And I already answered that. Deshaun Thompson says, bro, when you finally had enough, you can always come over to my Cowboys. Never! But I appreciate the invitation, though. I really do. Likely Phenomenon says, what linebackers are available after training camp? Not many. Laughing my ass off. You're right. There are going to be some young guys that get cut from other teams. It happens every year. You can't keep everybody. These rosters are at 90 players right now. So there are going to be some young guys that get cut. But I don't know if the Redskins view linebacker as dire as some people out there, including myself, may view it after this decision to move on from Foster. They may like the depth. They may have loved what they've seen this offseason. Again, no pads are on. No contact is being made. So I don't know how much they can actually love what they've seen from, say, a Cole Holcomb or even a John Bostic. But I can tell you this, I've heard from reports that they love the fact that John Bostic has come in and been able to make calls in the huddle, which is what Mason Foster used to do. So they feel like he can come in and pick right up where Mason Foster left off. He's a younger option than Mason Foster. He's a cheaper option than Mason Foster. And so maybe that's their thought process in doing this. Again, it's not the decision that actually has me questioning this organization. It's the timing of the decision that strikes me as very odd and almost to the point where I think it's somewhat vindictive. Phil Pierre Lewis, or as I like to say, Louie, says, Sean Dion, Hamilton, and Bostic starters, question mark? I'm assuming so. If I were a betting man, I would put my money down on SDH and Bostic, Mr. Boom Bostic, starting at inside linebacker for us in the preseason and into the regular season. Let's see. Playoff Skin says, how many inside linebackers are we keeping? Generally, when you play a 3-4 base defense, first of all, no matter what defense you play, linebacker is usually one of the positions where you try to keep as many as possible because your linebackers make up a huge chunk of your special teams. Kickoff, punt coverage, that sort of thing. So you want to keep as many linebackers as you need. When you play a 3-4 defense, it forces you to keep even more linebackers. Generally speaking, though, you usually keep 8 linebackers total. 4 as edge rushers, 4 on the inside, 2 starters, 2 backups. Sometimes you may go with 9. I've seen instances where teams go with 9. The Redskins have gone with 9 linebackers total. 5 inside, 4 as edge rushers in the past. So you're not going to get more than 5 linebackers inside kept on the roster, but you're not going to see any less than 4. So, as I've mentioned, Cole Holcomb, Sean Dion Hamilton, Josh Harvey-Clemens, John Bostic, and am I missing anybody? Those are 4 guys right there inside. So, I think that's what the Redskins are going to roll with right now as it stands. We'll see what they decide to do. There could be an undrafted guy that we're not even thinking of that they really like that could easily make the roster. Who's to say? James Lester says, I believe the cut was made so that they can negotiate a contract with Trent Williams. If Josh doesn't take a pay cut, he might be the next to go. I don't think Josh is going anywhere. But then again, I didn't think Mason Foster was going anywhere. So I hear exactly what you're saying. They're not going to ask Josh Norman to take a pay cut because Josh has already told them, I'm not taking a pay cut. And if they're going to do something, they were going to already have done it by now. So I don't foresee that taking place. But again, I didn't see this move taking place the way that it did. So with that regard and with that being said, who knows? You could be right. You could be absolutely right. Farrah Cody says, nah, Josh Harvey-Clemens gained mad weight. Have you seen him? I haven't seen him. If he's put on weight, good for him. It will give him a better chance to see the field in a capacity that is something other than third downs and obvious passing situations, because he's a guy that came into this league at right around 215 pounds as a safety out of Louisville. And over time, he's put on more weight, but there's only so much weight you can put on a frame that was 215 pounds. You know, sometimes you see guys just blow up, but usually that's from high school to college to the NFL. He's been in the league for, I think this is his 4th year now. We've had Josh Harvey-Clemens on the roster. There's only so much weight he's going to put on. But I haven't seen him. No, I haven't seen him. So he'll be one of those guys I'll be looking for this upcoming training camp and into the preseason to see what adjustments he's made. Big D Money says, what about Josh Bynes? He's a guy that is solid and has some athleticism, has been around the league a little bit. But again, he's a guy that will have an opportunity. Like I said, there could be a guy off the beaten path that we're not even talking about that could potentially make some noise. And we'll see what happens. Protect Sports says, Ryan Anderson is perfect at inside linebacker. Hope they move him there. Anderson is trash as an edge rusher. I think he's going to get a chance on first and second downs to stop the run, be a physical edge-setting presence in the run game, and then they're going to bring Montez Sweat into the game on obvious passing situations early on. But I think it's only a matter of time before Montez Sweat is getting the bulk of the snaps at edge rusher. They drafted this guy in the first round. They love this guy's athleticism and length and what he brings to the table. If he's not starting immediately, he's going to be starting really soon into the season. And so that doesn't bode well for a guy like Ryan Anderson unless they see him being a guy to take the place of a Ryan Kerrigan, because Kerrigan isn't getting any younger himself. So again, I don't know what the Redskins' plans are for Ryan Anderson and what role they envision him having, but it's going to be hard to put him on the field if you're looking at this defense and you're putting your best players on the field. I just don't know if Ryan Anderson fits into that scenario or not. Likely Phenomenon says, hey, bro, I was watching Sean recently. Dude, late guys out. What's your favorite memory or play from the late, great Sean Taylor? There are too many to count. There was the Brett Favre game when he should have had like 8 interceptions. There's the Panthers game when he was a beast, had the game-clinching interception. I remember him throwing a ball into the stands after he ran out of bounds to seal that one up. There was the hit on Patrick Creighton late in the Monday Night Miracle versus the Cowboys. There was the hit on T.O. in that same game. There were so many hits versus the Eagles. There was one in particular on a Monday night where he lit up one of their receivers. There are too many, There's the scoop and score to seal up the playoff. Probably, if I had to pick one moment, that would be it. The scoop and score versus the Eagles in Week 17 to clinch the Redskins' playoff berth in 2005 on that first playoff run with Joe Gibbs 2.0, I think would be my favorite moment. Thomas Rice says, Cole Holcomb weighs 245, bro, and look again, he's built like a stout little guy. Again, I'm just telling you what I saw. The last time I saw Cole Holcomb, all right, was at his pro day, all right, preparing for the draft. He ran a sub 4.5, if I'm not mistaken, ran like a 4.47 or something along those lines. Dude looked legit 225. I'm just telling you what I saw, all right? At Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, he was 232. So if you're telling me he put on 13 pounds of muscle from then to now, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I find it hard to believe. That's all I'm telling you. That's it. You could be right. He could be 245. I don't buy it. I have to see it with my own eyes. Because the last time I saw, first of all, I watched him on tape. Cole Holcomb was 230 at best at Carolina. All right? I watched him at his pro day. Cole Holcomb looked 225, 230 at best at his pro day. I haven't seen him since. So if the guy has bulked up, put on weight, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Guys do it all the time. If he's gotten with the nutritionist and he's put on an additional 10 pounds of muscle, good for him. He may have an opportunity to get on the field a lot sooner than I'm giving him credit for. But I'm just telling you, the last time I saw Cole Holcomb, the dude was south of 235. That's it. Andre Williams says, do you think that B.J. Blunt can surprise? Have no idea who B.J. Blunt is. So I can't tell you what he can or can't do and what he brings to the table. But all bets are off. You know how it is this time of the year. All guys need is an opportunity. And you got to be ready when that opportunity knocks. And that's sometimes all you need. And so you don't know what's going to happen this time of the year. Michael Starkey says, John Bostic is a snot bringer. Like I said, 2-down linebacker, not afraid to stick his nose in there. But we had a 2-down linebacker that wasn't afraid to stick his nose in there. So for what it's worth, in any event, Likely Phenomenon says Josh Bynes is a former Lion, bro. I'm aware. That's where I remember Josh Bynes from. I think he's been with 2 or 3 different teams throughout his career, but I know him from Detroit. Dave G Comedy says he was at the game with the Tampa scoop and score. That was a great moment too. I remember that like it was yesterday, but I also remember him spitting in the face of Michael Pittman and getting ejected from that game. But I think that touchdown that he scored in that game was the lone touchdown the Redskins scored. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, the Redskins were one of the most inept offensive teams in NFL history in that game, in a playoff game. In that particular game, I think the Redskins might have had just over 100 yards of total offense in that game. And his touchdown on that fumble that Marcus Washington initially recovered, and then he ended up scooping up after Washington fumbled, was the lone touchdown of the game for the Redskins, if I'm not mistaken. The 20th Mike says, who's replacing him? Right now, I don't think anybody in particular is replacing him as much as they just felt like they didn't need him. That's the only thing I can gather. As you heard his agent say, he really didn't get a reason as to why he was released. And when you look at the depth chart, you look at the guys that are on the roster at inside linebacker, I'm not sure if there was enough depth there for them to do this and feel comfortable doing it. So, again, I'm going to err on the side of caution and give the Redskins the benefit of the doubt, which I probably shouldn't do. But I'll be giving them the benefit and saying that they know something that we don't. You know, they love Cole Holcomb, and they love what he's doing. They love Josh Harvey Clemens and his new body. If what you guys are telling me is accurate and that he's put on 10, 15, 20 pounds, then they love what he's bringing to the table and feel like he can contribute in more than just the third down role. They love what they've seen out of John Bostic thus far, which I can go out on the record and say I've heard from numerous sources that they really like John Bostic a lot. So we'll see what happens. Thomas Rice says, I feel what you're saying. I was just reading what I saw in the tabloids about Holcomb, bro. Got hella respect for you. You know your shit. I watch your show every day. I love it. Mad respect. Ain't no doubt, man. And it's not like we were arguing or I was arguing with you. This is what we do. This is why this forum is here, and I created it so that we can have dialogue back and forth and talk amongst each other, because we all love this stuff. This is what we live for. We live for football. So that's what this forum is for, and I'm glad that you're here chopping it up with me, your man, Louie T. I really appreciate you, Thomas, for sure. Let's see. All right, that's all the comments I have. So, look, at the end of the day, the Redskins did what they did. I know a lot of you out there weren't fans of Mason Foster to begin with, so you could care less about this move. I, however, didn't have a problem with Mason Foster. I actually thought he was a really solid football player. I thought you could do better than Mason Foster, but we didn't have better than Mason Foster. I know you can do a lot worse than Mason Foster, so I was perfectly content. If they weren't going to do anything at linebacker, which, you know, drafting Cole Holcomb in like the 5th round to me wasn't a statement that said, a headline that said, hey, we're looking to replace Mason Foster. Obviously, Reuben Foster was going to replace Mason Foster, but he got injured. So then my thought process was, well, good thing you still got Mason Foster on the roster. He can slide right back in where he was all along. You keep it moving, and you don't really have an issue at linebacker. Well, Redskins thought differently. We'll see what their plans are. That will be a storyline heading into camp that we didn't anticipate. But now, all of a sudden, inside linebacker to me is a position worth watching now, because the depth there, not that good. I'm not going to lie to you. One guy goes down, knock on wood. We got to stay healthy, man. That's one of the biggest things that we're looking for in camp. Just stay healthy. But look, one guy goes down at inside linebacker. we could be in some trouble. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. I am a Redskins fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Redskins spirit will never die. Redskins spirit will never fold. Until we meet again, hail to our beloved Washington Redskins. I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. I thank you guys for joining me. Training camp is about to be here. Things are about to rev up. We're about to break these divisions down. You're going to be seeing this face all up in your space quite often. So you get prepared as this season is about to get underway. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Have a good one.
Louie T Network.